and cooperation from the Egyptian people and leadership to all our brothers and sisters in the Republic of South Sudan, as well as confirming our willingness to implement the outcomes of the Joint Higher Committee, the outcomes of the summits between the presidents of the two countries, and the meeting of the Joint Higher Committee in Cairo in July 2021. In order to strengthen our strategic bilateral relations, which was notably signaled when Egypt became the second nation to officially recognize the independence of South Sudan in 2011, confirming Egypt's long-standing commitment to the stability and development of South Sudan. The relationship between Egypt and the Republic of South Sudan is both deep-rooted and ever-evolving across all sectors. The economic aspect of the relationship between Egypt and South Sudan is brimming with opportunities that range from boosting mutual investment to increasing bilateral trade, as well as sharing expertise to face current economic and financial challenges. In Egypt, we are encouraging our private sector to establish new partnership in South Sudan. And we hope that the result of this pivotal economic conference will serve as a catalyst to enhance our joint investment endeavors. The inauguration of the National Bank of Egypt branch in South Sudan in 2021 is a clear evidence to the open horizon we are hoping for our joint economic partnership. Moreover, we hope that we shall sign very soon in the future the agreement to avoid double taxation and other agreements which would be a catalyst to joint investment in both directions. In similar context, Egypt received a delegation from the Central Bank of South Sudan in August 2023, just last month, to discuss enhancing cooperation in the financial sector and its capacity building related to activities. The delegation explored mechanisms for regulating and developing banking and non-banking financial activities, maintaining the safety and stability of the markets, and developing the legislative structure of the laws governing the non-banking financial sector services. Distinguished participants, the deep-rooted friendship and robust cooperation between Egypt and South Sudan have also been continually fruitful through high-level diplomatic engagement. These include several summit meetings in Cairo and Juba between the two leaders of the states, underscoring the deep ties at both the official and popular levels between our two countries, while also enhancing bilateral cooperation across various sectors. During President Sisi's visit to Juba in November 2020, he emphasized Egypt's commitment to sharing expertise, offering technical support, and building local capacities in the South Sudan. He also unequivocally reaffirmed Egypt's steadfast support for the South Sudan's peace and stability. This spirit of cooperation was further solidified during the first session of the Joint Higher Committee between the two countries, held in Cairo in July 2021, where both governments underscored the need to elevate their strategic integration to a new level. Therefore, we welcome enhancing mutual cooperation and the exchange of expertise, including the scope of work of the Ministry of Finance, particularly in the sectors like customs and financing and managing universal health insurance, taxation, and I'm willing to cooperate and sign with Excellency the Minister Memorandum of Understanding to immediately transfer our expertise in establishing TSAA, Treasury Single Account, and also GFMIS, Government Financial Management Information System, and all the experience we implemented successfully in the taxation system, like digitalizing all the tax system, including e-invoice, e-receipt, and also for making all the public finance management in an electronic platform, including electronic collection of revenue and expenditure, which we succeed in that in Egypt. All our expertise, all our achievement are under your request. I'm willing to sign memorandum of understanding to transfer all of that immediately in cooperation with people from South Sudan, particularly the Ministry of Finance. This encompasses encouraging the private sector, guiding growth in specific areas such as industry and the green economy, which includes promoting environmentally friendly projects and intensifying investment in the new and renewable energy, all while providing the adequate technical support in all these sectors. And we are willing to provide valuable technical assistance and capacity building support to help South Sudan establish and strengthen its financial institution, regulatory frameworks, and payment systems. On behalf of the Egyptian government, I confirm that Egypt supports the objectives of this conference, and I affirm its readiness to enhance mutual cooperation and positively respond to your aspirations regarding bilateral relationships and to support your effort in the field of economic and social development and progress. Ladies and gentlemen, we are all facing common challenges. Whether in Egypt, South Sudan, Africa, or any other developing country, facing towering waves of challenging economic repercussions imposed on us by international circumstances. We had no role in shaping that. This includes the economic fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic, the ongoing challenges and difficulties arising from the war in Europe, as well as the adverse effects of climate change, which are impacting our countries and communities in a way that requires significant effort and expenditure to mitigate and adapt to such climate change negative impact. Therefore, mutual cooperation is imperative among us. Supporting individual, bilateral, and collective efforts paves the way for enhancing our resilience in tackling pressing challenges such as debt issues, facing problems, inflation, pressure on local currencies, among others. In this regard, Egypt is confronting these challenges through a bundle of measures at both the domestic and the international levels. Regarding the issue of debt that most countries are currently facing and suffering, particularly developing nations, as a result of the stringent financial policies of major countries that have led to the outflow of capital from developing and emerging markets to major markets, and the severe difficulties our countries face in securing development financing on favorable terms. Egypt has made several steps, both in domestic economic policy and on the international stage. During the Finance Day on the sideline of the 27th UN Climate Change Conference of the parties COP27 hosted by the city of Sharm el-Sheikh last year in Egypt, Egypt launched the Sustainable Debt Coalition, initiative. This initiative aims to find sustainable solutions for emerging economies dealing with unprecedented level of public debt and the strategies for managing such a level and its debt service. It also aims to achieve sustainable, low-cost financing and to diversify the available financing instrument of emerging economies. On the note of diversifying financing tools, Egypt is exploring alternative venues for securing development financing on favorable terms. It has issued various types of bonds in multiple financial markets, such as green bonds, samurai bonds in Japanese market, Islamic sukuk, and now we are on the final steps to issue banda in the Chinese market, and again green samurai in the Japanese financial market. And Egypt has secured low-cost financing from multilateral banks, such as New Development Bank, which is one of the financial tools of the BRICS group, which Egypt has gained membership last month in South Africa with other 5 countries. The country is also involved with the Asian Infrastructure Bank, AIIB, whose annual meetings will be in Egypt. Egypt will host it this month in the city of Sharm el-Sheikh in September 25th and 26th. The AIIB Bank portfolio in Egypt has exceeded $1 billion in projects related to green energy, transportation, initial utilities, and infrastructure. Egypt was successful to invest hugely in infrastructure and succeeded in making infrastructure ready for a sustainable growth. In the domain of addressing economic challenges and managing them, Egypt has recently taken numerous decisive measures aimed at encouraging both domestic and foreign investment by simplifying procedures and directing it towards specific sectors, which include green economy, technological and industrial development, labor-intensive industries, modern agriculture, and achieving high levels of self-sufficiency in production inputs, food items, and essential industries that meet the needs of the community. This strategy serves double purposes. It reduces the country's dependence on foreign currency for imports, while simultaneously enhancing the scale and the value of export, thereby relieving stress on the local currency and mitigating inflation. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I would like to extend my warmest greetings and reaffirm Egypt's steadfast commitment to supporting your effort towards comprehensive economic development in your brotherly country. I am filled with a sense of optimism as we convene for this pivotal conference that we are on the threshold of achieving its ambitious objectives, laying solid foundation for the future of South Sudan, an economically diverse landscape where each sector harmoniously contribute to sustainable growth and development. My regard to the government and the people of South Sudan for their warm welcome, and I thank very generous hospitality from my brother, Minister of Finance. I thank you all for your kind attention. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency Dr. Mohammed Ahmed Mohammed Aitai. I welcome Honorable Minister of Finance, Dr. Mariam Chow, and also the Chair of the Higher Level Steering Committee that is charged with the responsibility of organizing this conference, Honorable Bagyo Muswata.
Your Excellency, Dr. James Waniwiga,
Bro,
our Vice
can you hold for me
President,
this for just once, 30 seconds? I'm going to cut my camera.
Your Excellency, Taban Dengai, Vice President and Chairman of Infrastructure Cluster, Your Excellency, Dr. Mohammed Ahmed Riyad, the Minister of Finance of the Arab Republic of Egypt, Right Honorable Speaker, Honorable Deng Akon, the Speaker of Council of the States, Honorable Wiyet Nathaniel Perino, our first Deputy Speaker of National Legislative Assembly, Honorable General Paul Minyang Juk, our Senior Presidential Advisor, Honorable National Ministers present, Honorable National Members of NLA present, Honorable Governors of our 10 states, Honorable Luis, Honorable Montreal, General Rin, and all the other governors, chief administrators of our 3 administrative areas, chair of Islamic missions, Islamic Council, head of independence commissions, ambassadors of head of diplomatic corps, representative of the Secretary General and the UNIMIS, all of you, for the sake of time, good afternoon. I want to welcome all the invited guests, delegates from all over, to this first National Economic Conference of South Sudan that will run through to the 8th of September 2023. This is a historic event that seeks to chart a new course for our nation's economic and social development. Today, we gather under the theme towards a diversified, inclusive, and sustainable economy, with the overarching goal of developing a roadmap for South Sudan economic prosperity. As we embark on this important journey, it is very crucial that we address a variety of crucial and critical issues to achieve a diversified, inclusive, and sustainable economy. Before we delve into the specifics of our economic vision, let us take a moment to reflect on the journey we have undertaken, all of us together, as a young nation. We got our independence back in 2011, but have continued to face social, economic, and political unrest that has really affected not only our economic development, but has led to loss of opportunities, both locally and globally. The peace agreement we signed back in September 2018 was expected to reestablish long-lasting social peace and economic stability. The formation of the unity government, the reconstitution of the Transitional National Legislative Assembly, and the unification of the Army Command structure represent significant steps towards its implementation. Proudly, our country, South Sudan, has made remarkable strides since gaining independence. Despite the hurdles and the difficulties of COVID-19, pandemic, locust invasion, falling of oil prices, and the consecutive 3 years of flood or extensive flood, and even the war now in Eastern Europe, the government managed to overcome and stood firm strategically planned recoveries. Natural resources from fertile land, youthful and dynamic population, and oil reserves that are estimated to be 3.5 billion barrels, making it the third largest reserve in sub-Saharan Africa, rich livestock. Despite these immense natural resources, we have been naturally and politically sometimes made economically and financially constrained. Yes, from 2013 we have had the political and economic, even social instabilities. But the government under the leadership of His Excellency the President, Salva Kiir Mayardit, tried its best to stabilize these two sectors, the security sector and the political stability, not sanctions. There is no doubt that this conference will enable us to renew our commitment towards stabilizing the economy and considering peace through providing equitable social services. Let us seize this opportunity that has been availed by this conference to focus on areas of economic transformation, with economic diversification ranking high on the scale of preference. We must expand to agriculture to a commercial level, not only to ensure food security, but also to generate income for our farmers and surplus for export. Priority in agriculture must also include smallholders farmers, productivity and access to markets, as well as enhancing distribution systems to minimize post-harvest losses. In that regard, the government takes responsibility to revamp existing agricultural schemes, such as the Will Rise Scheme, Run Mechanized Agriculture, Jebel Ladu Dura Scheme, and Zara Agro-Complex, and Mangala Sugar Scheme, among other programs, to maximize their impact and reach. We will cooperate through public-private partnership to realize quick results. Let us revitalize and expand so that we create jobs for our population and balance our trade with the neighboring countries, the region, and even in the world. We can trade all over because we have a variety of products. Today I have an honor to announce the establishment of South Sudan Agricultural and Irrigation Company that will shoulder the task of fostering agriculture and enhance the country production capacity. This company, together with the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security and the Agricultural Bank of South Sudan, will work together to foster this sector. And this is a determination and a directive from the President, His Excellency Salva Kiir Mayardit. Moreover, the government will continue to regulate the mining sector and open doors for multinational cooperation to invest in this sector. I also have an honor to launch South Sudan Minerals Development Cooperation. This entity will partner with interested partners to explore, trade, and support the development of mineral sector, together with Ministry of Mining and other relevant institutions. Dear comrades and delegates, our tax system requires a special attention to support the national budget and also expedite and increase our GDP. It has long been neglected or insufficiently transformed or even partially actually supported. Tax exemption, tax evasion, insufficient collection, smuggling. This has been some of the major challenges in non-oil revenues sector. We should not be satisfied with the little money we collect from our non-oil. We must invest in modernize our tax collection system, expand its base, improve in its management, and encourage transparency and accountability in this sector. This will not only increase government revenues, but will also build public trust and confidence in our economic governance, which is part of our public financial management reforms agenda we are undertaking as a government. Youth employment is another critical component of our economic diversification agenda. We must create opportunities for our young entrepreneurs to access capital for startups, fostering innovation and creativity, because we believe we have creative youth that actually lack capital in this country. And that is why we have taken it as a role and part of our transformational agenda to direct all our banks to access or give capital to our entrepreneurs so that we support their growth and development. In the context of economic transformation, or diversification rather, empowering women plays a vital role. Women participation in economic transformation is not just a moral imperative, but a pragmatic one. Women constitute a substantial portion of our population, and their active involvement in economy is essential for our nation's growth. We must create opportunities for women to access education, skills and training, capital for their entrepreneurial activities. This is so much important, and I'm so much determined to support them. Breaking down gender barriers will also unlock a wealth of talents and potentials that can drive innovation and economic progress. Dear compatriots, delegates, and ladies and gentlemen, the government will encourage local businesses and facilitate them to embark on manufacturing. As I promised you in my reception speech, I'm not only supporting agriculture and youth, but I'm working for long-term manufacturing in the manufacturing sector. So the exhibition you will find out, out of this hall, is one of the initiatives to showcase our talents in manufacturing. There are a lot of products that are not promoted in this country, and I have taken it as a responsibility to promote manufacturing and promote the smallholders producers. Additionally, we should expand our vocational training centers to train a skilled workforce that will support our growing industrial sector. Training youth in specific skills needed for factories and industries not only generate wealth for them, but foster our GDP. Economic stability is the fundamental prerequisite for development. We must strengthen our macroeconomic fundamentals, including fiscal discipline and monetary policy. We must invest in infrastructure, energy, and transportation to create an environment that is conducive to business growth, connecting producers to consumers, and furthermore, we must promote a stable and predictable regulatory framework that attracts domestic and foreign direct investment. This is so much important if we are moving towards transformation. Sustainability is not just an environmental concern. It is an economic imperative, and we have a duty to protect our natural resources for future generations. This conference must prioritize discussion on sustainable practices in all sectors, from agriculture to energy to urban planning. Sustainability also involves addressing the effects of climate change, which threaten our agricultural productivity and water resources. And you may have seen, this year, we have not witnessed a lot of rainfall as previous years. This is part of what we have to struggle to introduce irrigated kind of agriculture so that we have food security. Ladies and gentlemen, this conference is not just about discussions and policy recommendation. It is about taking actions. We must commit ourselves to implementing the strategies and policies that will emerge from this conference. We must work together across all sectors with our international partners to turn our economic vision into a reality. Let me announce through this conference that His Excellency the President has directed the Minister of Finance to initiate economic transformational agenda. That is why we are here today. As we embark on this journey towards a diversified, inclusive, and sustainable economy, let us remember that the future of South Sudan is in our hands. Together, we will forge a path towards economic prosperity and a brighter future for South Sudan. In conclusion, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all participants across the nation and globally, to our experts, our partners who have joined hands with us in this endeavor, especially to UNDP, to World Bank, to IMF, to African Development Bank, University of Juba, Ebony Center, for their immense support and contributions. A special thanks and appreciation to our special guest, Dr. Mohammed Ahmed Miad, the Minister of Finance of the Arab Republic of Egypt, who, despite his busy schedule, took it upon himself to travel all over from Egypt, taking a long connection through Turkey to arrive to South Sudan this morning at 7:30. Your Excellency, you are welcome to South Sudan. And when you were speaking English, I connected to a story that happened to me personally back in 2004. I was in Egypt. I was actually under treatment, and I paid a fee in a hospital. Malaysia will take time a little bit. وبعد ما دفعت الرسوم الكاشير اداني رصيد قال لي اكتب استلمت الاصل. Instead انا كتبت استلمت الاصل وخطيت ضم عليه. فقال لي ايه ده يا سمارة؟ ما تقول لي انت مصري من اسوان. فقلت له انا ما مصري من اسوان، انا من جنوب السودان لكن بتحدث العربيه الفصحى. فانت بتتكلم الانجليزيه الفصحى برضه، وبقول لك شكرا جزيلا، انت من هنا ونحن اخوات. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me at this juncture to welcome our patron of the day, His Excellency Professor Dr. James Wani Iga, our Vice President and Chair of Economic Cluster, to give his address. Thank you so much. Please have a seat. Your Excellency, the Vice President General Taban Dengai, the Chairperson of the Infrastructure Cluster, the Right Honorable Speaker of the Council of State, Dengdeng Akon, the Right First Deputy Speaker of the TNLA, of the Republic of Egypt, the esteemed delegates from the region and outside the region, including those from inside the country, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, greetings to all of you. Welcome for those who are coming from various parts of our beautiful country, from outside Juba. Welcome to South Sudan. For all those esteemed delegates coming from other parts of the world. أنا الكرة سلة، أنا داير أقول مليون مبروكات لجنوب السودان، مليون مبروكات لنجم الساطع. So Bright Star Oye, Bright Star Oye. That indeed we are very proud of Bright Star. And the management, the ministry and the minister. Mabruk alaikum Dr. Albino. I congratulate His Excellency President Kir Mayardi for the timely directives
he had given to our economic cluster to convene this historic economic conference. I also hail and thank the Ministry of Finance and Planning, headed by our able Minister, Dr. Barnaba Chol, alongside the high-level steering committee for the work well done and well organized. It is nonetheless worthy to mention that the origin of this economic gathering was basically conceived by the outgoing minister, Honorable Dear Tong. We are grateful to you, Honorable Dear, if you are around. Mubruk for the efforts. Today it is a blessing to see you in Juba participating in South Sudan's first National Economic Conference. Your presence is a demonstration of your commitment to stand shoulder to shoulder with South Sudan in its quest for mechanisms that will stabilize its economic development foundations and find jobs for our youth and women. You may be aware that South Sudan at the moment is moving carefully with optimism, energized by the agreement on the roadmap of extended revitalized agreement on the resolution of conflict in the Republic of South Sudan. South Sudan has a land area of 648,000 square kilometers and a population that is currently estimated to be about 13 million. After taking account of large influx of returnees and refugees in recent years, this makes South Sudan one of the least densely populated countries in the sub-Saharan Africa. The terrain gradually rises from plains in the north and center to southern highlands along the border with Uganda and Kenya. The White Nile, which flows through Central Africa, is the major geographical feature of the country. It supports agriculture and extensive animal life, domestic and wild. Now we are entering into planning in this conference. But my question is, why poor planning is the core challenge in South Sudan and even many least developed countries? In my view, a good plan should contain at least the following. It should have detailed analysis on the economy using actual data, actual statistics. It must have the strategies and priorities for each sector. It must outline major activities and the instruments that we will use in our economy are to be ensured that they will be put into action plan. While selecting the ideal system for ourselves, a strategic approach must aim at the following objectives: the economic growth, price stability. We are being tortured by prices in Konyo and beyond. Full employment for our youth and women. It must address the balance of payments equilibrium. Ladies and gentlemen, our issue of internal security needs to be addressed in fora like this, because security first, any other thing secondary. Our government has taken obvious measures and tremendous steps to improve the national security. Commendable. Improved security and deepening peace will be critical for the direct well-being of citizens throughout the country and for achieving sustained poverty reduction. A comprehensive approach will be required, including dealing with causes of conflict, ensuring improved security within communities, and improving access to conflict resolution systems and justice. An adequate level of security is also an essential prerequisite for a business environment that will attract the large amounts of private investment capital required for broad-based and sustained strong economic growth. Our government is doing and has been doing its level best to normalize the menace. Programs for improved internal security will need to be sensitive to a number of issues. And these issues will include, number one, interventions related to the large number of internally displaced persons, IDPs, within the country. The prolonged period on conflict led to serious neglect in the infrastructure development and major destruction of coast that we all witness, leave alone displacement. Number two, there is continuing uncertainty about the future inflow of South Sudanese from Sudan, and we must be prepared for this. Already some 250,000 returnees have so far returned. This needs to be managed properly beyond humanitarian, including rehabilitation and settlement. So this urgently demands attention of the international community. Number 3 is continued internal conflict among ethnic and tribal groups is an itching factor. Historically, clashes have been among tribes, primarily around cattle. But in the more recent years, conflict has added child abduction. The activities of armed groups, etc. Continued development of the capacities of South Sudan organized forces is paramount in this respect. Land tenure and ownership is central. Is central security. Already people are fighting left and right over lands. There is existence of unclear land tenure policies, rules and practices, and the territorial and symbolic role of land in disputes among communities within South Sudan. That is also the last mechanism in this respect of security is to gain a stable macroeconomic, which is our subject of today. So, ladies and gentlemen, what are then the issues related to public expenditure? Success in building these alternative sources will require an extended period of sustained growth in the non-oil economy that is led by domestic and international private investment. Creating the conditions for such investment and growth is one of the major bottlenecks for our government in the decade ahead. Central to this effort will be a major build-up in investment in the basic infrastructure of the country, which is seriously deficient at this time and cannot provide for the basis of an extended period of strong economic growth needed to create jobs for a labor force that is growing at the speed of 5% a year. This is the rate of labor force demand in our country. And so that we can reduce the high incidence of poverty in our country. Our country carries the lowest adult literacy rate in the whole world. This is particularly the case in rural areas because we have been subjected to over 40 years of conflict. So no time for education. The time has come. Where the average literacy is currently 24% in the rural. This is literacy rate. In urban areas, many statisticians suggest 52%. With current low enrollment rates for children of school age, illiteracy will very likely continue for a protracted period. At the present time, the literacy rate for 15 to 24 old people is only 35%, especially in the rural again. The implication is that large portion of the existing workforce of the country lacks basic skills in reading and writing. Sustained strong economic growth is expected to generate large numbers of jobs within our country, and especially for skilled. So all the youth should endeavor skills is like transport of large inflows of foreign workers and domestic pressures on wage rates for skilled and semi-skilled also. And in turn, that undermines the international competitiveness of the domestic business community. We will have to rely on outside labor because we don't have the skill one. Weak institution capacities are also a matter of concern in South Sudan. A recent report by Dr. Kemia notes that institutional conditions in South Sudan are fragile. Delivery capacities remain extremely weak, and there is an acute need for a professional and accountable public service to create increased confidence in the government. According to a recent UNDP report also, half of all positions in the ministries, in our ministries here, were unfilled. Almost half were unfilled because of lack of capacity. 50% of public servants have only early education, and only 5% had a graduate degree. This is pathetic. So, Your Excellencies, I want to address the issue of weak operating environment in order for our private business to prosper. What do we do? Sustained improvement in the provision of infrastructure services will require the development of private sector capacities for provision of these services. Such capacities are at an early stage of progress in our nation. A small domestic private sector has emerged, which is bimodal, that is, comprising large number of small or even very small businesses on one hand, and a limited number of rather medium firms on the other. According to a recent report prepared for the African Development Bank, most of the formal businesses in the country are small and medium-sized enterprises. There are about 50 large firms involved mainly in banking, telecommunications, and manufacture, beverages. Medium-sized firms number about 500 and are mainly in construction, hotel, and restaurant services, and trade-related activities. Small firms number about 8,000 and are involved with services similar to that of the medium-sized ones. In addition to these registered businesses, there are more than 10,000 micro firms, so to speak, typically individual entrepreneurs, involved in petty trade. Almost all of larger companies are foreign-owned, as many South Sudanese still lack the capital to start larger businesses. The International Finance Corporation, IFC, stated that doing business, and this is important for our departments in South Sudan, he stated that doing business in Juba ranks at 159. We are number 159 out of 183 economies in the world on the ease of doing business. This is, of course, with incredible number of natural resources, ranging from some 32 metallic. Until recently, we used to believe that the metallic minerals were some 22. Recent discoveries have put this, including by Chinese Overseas Energy and Technology, they have put this at 32. So you can see we are potentially rich, but we are currently poor. It is a contradiction. I agree with our fellow who said before that we, instead of walking, let us run. But I'm adding that instead of running, let us fly. So that at least we can catch up even with the region. We are not competing with those people who have already gone to planet Mars. Full realization of this very considerable potential will require concerted action to address a somewhat discouraging array of challenges that currently confront this newly independent country. And these challenges, these remedies will include ensuring adequate internal security, again to summarize on that, because it is always number one everywhere in every country. You heard Uganda, the general was saying that they disarmed they recovered some 40,000 guns. We have started, but we need much more effort. Unless we disarm our people, there is nothing we can do. You cannot invest. Yes. Responding to the challenges that stem from current and continued rapid growth in population and the labor force, promoting broad-based economic growth to reduce the current heavy dependence on the oil economy, which itself is loaded with its own constraints. Developing targeted programs that will result in sustained reduction in the current very high levels of poverty in the country. Crafting a major program of infrastructure development to overcome the current major bottlenecks to business activity and cost-effective delivery of basic services throughout the country. Providing a stable economic ambience that will create an attractive operating environment for domestic and international business and ensure economic stability for the people of South Sudan. addressing a range of issues related to the gradual adjustment in public expenditure policies that will be required in the medium and long term in response to changing domestic needs and requirements for public service provision. Lastly, designing and implementing programs that will address the present institutional and human capacity hurdles which are confronting South Sudan is an imperative step. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, good luck to South Sudan. And we say South Sudan, oye, and all of you also oye, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, Dr. Waniga. We have photo session, and the photo session goes this way. We have the higher table first. You take the photo session, then we have the second group, which is the front line, the senior government people comes after that, together with you. Then we have the diplomatic corps, and then we end with partners. Photo session, sir. While we are preparing for photo session, allow me to make this announcement. There's a vehicle